Hi, John Dwyer here, and I'm here on behalf of the Ultimate Marketing System WOW Manifesto Client Attraction Program, as if you need to be told that because this is Module 10, and I suspect you know what this is all about by now. This particular module, though, I think you're going to find interesting. It is all about building repetitive trade. Who doesn't want to do that? Because it's one thing to, well, I'll bring up the first point here. It's one thing to score a new customer, but it's another thing entirely to get them to come back and back and back. And if you're like me, you just don't want a customer who buys once off you. You want a customer who becomes a loyal client who buys regularly off you. That's just the way it is. Do you think Kellogg's really want you to buy the one packet of cornflakes? No, I think they want you to buy cornflakes for the rest of your life. And Coca-Cola, the same, and I can go on and on. You know what I'm talking about. Now, the thing is, with repetitive trade, the first port of call is collecting data. So if you want customers to come back on a regular basis, you can, pick your finger and put it in the air and just hope and pray that they will come back. Or you can actually give yourself a decisive advantage over your competitors in terms of influencing them to come back by collecting data in the first place. In other words, you get their name, you get their email address, and most importantly, you get their cell number, their mobile number. And then, of course, you encourage them to come back via offers that I'll showcase to you in just a moment. Now, McDonald's, as I've said before, are a pretty handy marketer. I mean, if you asked most people, what did you think about McDonald's as a marketer, they'd probably say they're very good. But guess what? In Australia, there will be 1.7 million people today, estimated, go through McDonald's to buy something, and McDonald's don't have one name or contact detail of any of those people. In America, that probably could be 20, 30 million people going through McDonald's today, and they don't have any contact details either. This is crazy madness. I've often said that if I was running KFC or McDonald's or any one of these big companies, and I'd call the marketing manager in and either dismiss them on the spot or say to them, why aren't you collecting data? So let me give you another point. Lobster Cave Restaurant. I've given you this case study in a previous module, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but this particular guy, his name was Bill Ferg, or his name is Bill Ferg. He became a member of my private coaching program a couple of years back, and he has an upmarket restaurant in Melbourne, Australia. Very upmarket suburb, so most of the homes around his restaurant are $2 or $3 or $4 million homes. It's on a beautiful area of Melbourne called Beaumaris. And he said to me, look, we fill the restaurant easily on a Friday and Saturday night, but the weeknights, not so easy. And I said to him, well, how many seats have you got? I think it was a 130 seat restaurant. And so therefore I said, well, what are you spending on advertising at the moment? And he showed me, it was about $500,000 a year he was spending on, radio and newspaper advertising. I said, well, let's stop that. And he went, excuse me, you're supposed to be the marketing guru. You want me to stop that advertising? I said, well, yes. And there's more reasons than I've got time to tell you here, but really it wasn't working for him anyway, okay? And I said, why don't we just give 50 cents to your wait staff for every name and contact details that they collect? He went, go on. I said, well, the fact is you build a database and then milk the database. So we incentivized the waiters and waitresses with 50 cents for every name and contact details they got. So what happens if it was a table of 8 people having dinner and one person was paying the check? It didn't matter who was paying the check. They would put an entry form about the size of maybe an ace of diamonds, okay, like a playing card deck. They put an entry form in front of all 8 people, and that entry form would say, how would you like to win a dinner for 10? 9 of your friends and yourself. Just fill in your contact details. And about 95% of people always fill it in. Now today he has a database of 30,000 plus, but immediately he started to collect that data. What could happen is this. I said to him, use the telephone as your major communications tool. And so what would happen, and I was there live to see this. He's a bit of a character, this guy, so I guess you're a little bit like Crocodile Dundee, Paul Hogan. He's a real blokey bloke. So his office is on top of the restaurant, and I'm there having a meeting with him one day, and he said to me, JD, let me tell you how good this idea is that you gave me. And he screams out to his long-suffering secretary, Cheryl, who's in an office next door, Cheryl! And she comes in and goes, yes, Bill, tell me, how many of our 130 seats have got booked tonight? And she looks at a little tablet and she says, 62. He goes, gosh, well, we've got about another 60 seats that we've got to fill, or 70 seats we've got to fill. And she goes, yep. He says, send out one of JD's text messages. And I had put together a template of 5 or 6 text messages. And so she sends out a text message to not the whole 30,000 database, you wouldn't do that, but just to 400 or 500 to start with. and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He's only half full for that night, and it's a Tuesday. And she sends out the text message which says something like, "Hi, blah, blah. Chef Pierre from the Lobster Cave would like to invite you to come and dine with us tonight and enjoy a lobster tail meal for two for $68. And guess what? She walks in 10 minutes later to his office and says, "Bill, we're all booked out." 10 minutes. McDonald's Happy Meals continuity programs, that's all about repetitive trade. So if you're a father or mother or you're a grandparent, you know that when you get that Happy Meal toy, it's generally, number one of a series of 4 or 6. When the Olympic Games are on and you go to McDonald's and you buy a certain package of their meal, you'll get an Olympic Games Coca-Cola glass, and there'll be a series of 6. One might be red, one might be yellow, one might be purple, and so forth. It's always a series of. Think about a reward program for your products or services. Okay, and the one I gave you in one of our other modules, which is a really, really simple one, but it just explains the whole concept, is that if a hair salon was to put a 10% discount sign outside their door today, no one would come in. But if they said to you, "Look, Mrs. Smith, for every $50 you spend in my hair salon, we're going to give you a movie point. And when you save 6 movie points, which means 6 times $50, $300, we're going to give you 2 tickets to the movies." Do you think she's going to go to any other hairdressing salon throughout that period? Affinity relationships with non-competitive companies that have similar audiences. Example of that is the Greater Building Society was selling home loans. I'm looking after their marketing. They were a private coaching client. And there happens to be a health fund, okay, a health fund called NIB Health Fund that basically had a similar sort of working class audience, but were not a competitive product. They weren't selling home loans. And the bank or the building society wasn't selling health insurance. So we just helped each other by giving access to each other's database. So therefore, twice or 3 times a year, we would let the health fund email or mail our database, offering them, the health fund benefits and bonuses and all sorts of things. And they would do likewise with us, actually tapping into their database, offering them a home loan. And so therefore, what you're doing there is tapping into a similar target audience, but with a non-competitive affinity partner. And it's called affinity relationships. And so that's something you might like to think about as well. Having a relationship with someone who is non-competitive in your area, but has a similar customer base. That's about it for repetitive trade. It's all about making sure that you don't just make one sale, that you have regular interaction through a reward program or some sort of benefit scheme. And as you can see, that can be done through a sweepstakes, or it can be done through just collecting points and getting a reward at the end of it. Now let me tease you for the next module, and this will be module 11 of our 12, and it is all about social media, but social media that actually acts as a lead generator for you. There is so much waste of time and effort and money out there in the marketplace of business owners spending gazillions on social media because they've been told to get their name out there. As I've said to you a number of times already in this program, it's not a matter of getting your name out there, unless you've got a gazillion-dollar budget, by the way, and you can afford to do that. But it's not a matter of you as a small to medium-sized owner or operator of a business to get your name out there. It's all about getting their name in here, okay? I think by now, going through the modules that you already have, this is very sensible marketing. This is common sense on steroids. This is about spending your money on marketing that has a measurable return instantly, not in a year or 2 or 5 years' time when you've built the brand. This is all about getting food on the table tomorrow. So therefore, I'm going to show you in this next module some myths about Facebook and Instagram advertising and all that sort of stuff, where they keep on telling you to post photographs of your products or services, or God forbid what you had for breakfast. Throw all that out. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can use Facebook and Instagram advertising in particular to get instant response, to actually make sales the next day. I'm going to show you case studies, and I'm going to show you how we've done it. Now, before I leave, again, the blueprint, which is the written, sort of blueprint that covers this subject that we've just talked about, repetitive trade, is available for you to download right now. So I urge you to download that and even print it out if it's easier for you to sort of, read it when it's printable. I know that most of us are like that. You need to print these things out. I think you're going to find a lot of benefit in doing that, because there's a whole bunch of more case studies in there about repetitive trade and loyalty and reward schemes. Look forward to seeing you on the next module.